Leanne, it's so good to have you joining me on the podcast. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Robin. Thanks.
It is such a pleasure. And we have you and we have Sunny, your little dog. What kind of dog is he?
He's Maltese.
He's a
Yeah.
Maltese. Yeah, you know what? He is adorable and he's just sitting on your lap, like joining in on this. Well, he just listening quietly. But it's funny because I was saying to you earlier, yesterday I had Nita on the podcast and she had her dog Dallas join. And I was like, oh my gosh, we've never had a dog on the podcast. And now we have another one, second day in a row. So thanks for joining us, Sunny. But this is a really special episode because I've known you for a couple of years now. I'm not sure if it's like 2 or 3 years, but for a while. And so I
Yeah.
know you and your business, Isla Ray Jewelry, pretty well. And you also came to our first Jewelry Biz retreat in Kelowna this year. So I actually got to spend time with you, meet you in person. And so this is a really special episode because you haven't been on the podcast yet, even though we've worked together for such a long time. And so
Yeah.
I've been really, really looking forward to this because, Leanne, you have such an incredible story. And I know it's going to inspire so many listeners and jewelry business owners and people who have these beautiful dreams and they feel maybe overwhelmed at actually going and bringing them to life. And so I'm excited for you to share your story. But before we dive in, do you want to just go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners and share a little bit about how you actually got to where you are today?
Okay, I'm Leanne. I'm from near Regina, Saskatchewan. I live on an acreage and I have two children that live at home with me and a stepdaughter that doesn't. Um, I guess I'm trying to think of when we did start working together too. I think I was one of maybe your first,
You
maybe
were
one of
one
the
of
very
my
first.
first clients, I think within the
Yeah.
first 6 months of us officially launching the
Oh,
academy.
okay.
Let me see if I can find the date here, actually. It is somewhere here.
I wanted to
But
think I was one of your first five. Correct me if I'm wrong.
mm, let me see. This is actually so interesting. You were probably close to one of the first five. Yeah, you joined in June 2022.
Wow.
So that was 6 months in. So you were, or 7, 8 months in. So not quite first five, but you were one of the very original members, which is
Yes.
wild.
Yeah. How exciting. Yeah. Yeah, I create jewelry at my home studio, and I'm in boutiques across Canada. And yeah, I guess I make everyday effortless jewelry, and I really support mental health initiatives with purchases I donate to mental health initiatives. Yeah.
Hmm. I love that so much. So, I mean, you've built an incredible business, and I really want to talk about just how you've been showing up, sharing your story, building your team, all of that. But before we even go in that direction, um, I remember when you were looking at joining, you had your business at one point before, and then you shut it down. Can you talk us through? Like why that happened, what happened, and just share a little bit about that story.
So I had a previous jewelry business. I had started tinkering in jewelry in 2005. Um, my spouse was on the oil patch and he went away. He was out on the road a lot. I was pregnant with my daughter and I had my son who was 5 years old. And so I was tinkering then. And when I had my daughter, I was making a lot of jewelry. I would stay up throughout the night and make jewelry and throughout the day because I was getting up to nurse and tend to her. And my son was also experiencing night terrors and I was home alone with the kids. So, yeah, I didn't realize it at the time, but I was starting to have my first bipolar mania. I would just stay up all day and all night because I was just on edge and couldn't sleep. And so I made a lot of jewelry. I I wasn't sure how to make jewelry, but a lot of people loved it, and I was selling it. Didn't have no kind of business structure or anything like that. And shortly after my daughter was born, I think I want to say about 6 months after I experienced my first high, I was experienced my first bipolar depression, at what time I was hospitalized. And yeah, a lot of people don't know that. People in my community do know that. I'm from a small town, so I felt really embarrassed that I folded my business because I was placed in the mental health ward. So yeah, I swore I would never do jewelry again just because I was horribly embarrassed and I felt like I let so many people down. And then fast forward to yeah, 2021, the end of 2021. Um, my niece had asked me, I guess, to make her bridesmaids jewelry for her wedding. And I picked up my tools again and I had sold a lot of my stuff, but I bought the stuff I knew I needed to make her jewelry. And I picked up my tools and just, yeah, fell instantly in love with making jewelry again and creating. Yeah, it just was like my therapy and definitely my passion. I've tried to have jobs on and off for several years, and I never understood why I couldn't hold a job, why I got bored, stuff like that. And later, as an adult woman now, having been diagnosed with ADHD, I realize now that that's a lot of the reason why I couldn't hold a job. So when I started again in 2021, I struggled for quite a few months. I debated reaching out to you for a while, and yeah, I started working with you, and it just has grown rapidly since then. Yeah, like learning how to make it properly, and more importantly, learning the business part of it. Yeah, like wholesale part of it, and having the community of jewelry businesses, and yeah, so that's
You
it.
have you have such a powerful story, Leanne. And so one thing, if you're comfortable talking a little bit about is, I know you've shared openly now on social media a bit more about your story and your struggle with like mental health challenges and how that's impacted you and your family. Um, and one of the things that you said is that you felt embarrassed for feeling that way. And I know that there's a lot of people listening to this who've dealt with the same. I know you came to the retreat, and one of the things we did at the retreat was we all shared our stories, and nobody, apart from the people who came to the retreat, have actually heard my whole story. So I understand that, like, feeling embarrassed and feeling anxious to share parts of our stories, especially when it comes to mental health. And it was really interesting how many of our clients at the retreat had very similar experiences. Like it was so eye-opening, I think, for all of us to be like, whoa, I thought I was alone in feeling this way. I thought I was alone in dealing with this. And like to see that it's very much an experience so many people do go through and we keep it so quiet. Um, what's your experience been of like slowly letting go of that like shame and embarrassment around that while you're building your business because you are becoming more vocal on social media and you have had anxiety, I know, around like, well, what are my retailers going to think about me sharing my story? And like, what are people going to really think? Are they still going to want to buy from me?
Yeah, I think sharing my story at the retreat for the first time, that was really hard, but it felt like I had been not telling the truth of why I have been donating to mental health initiatives and why I am so passionate about it. So sharing that story and just openly feeling vulnerable and safe enough to share it. Yeah, just let me share it more on my social media. And just a second. Sorry, he's
No
having
worries.
I don't know what they call it when he goes a little cuckoo like that. But sorry,
He's getting the zoomies.
the zoomies, that's what it's called.
That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Um, so yeah, to share it first in a safe environment really let me be comfortable and share it with social media. I did get some backlash from people that, I guess are kind of part of the story, but I didn't share their part. Um, but yeah, it feels like I guess a weight was lifted off my shoulders so people could really understand why I do struggle a lot when I'm at trade shows or when I'm trying to work with retailers and wholesalers. It is because there is some memory problems and like math and word problems there from my suicide attempt from when I was 18. So yeah, just sharing that and I guess opening up. And if people aren't open to working with me because of that, then I guess that was just something I am willing to, because those aren't my people, I guess. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and
Mhm.
it's so scary and it's so vulnerable to share your story and put yourself out there. Because the reality is some people are going to judge, criticize all the things, and what we actually want in business is to repel the wrong people. So when
Mhm.
the more authentic you get, the more real you get, the more you're sharing of your real self and story and all those things, you are going to do a great job in repelling the wrong people that we don't want to work with anyway. We don't want to sell to
Mhm.
anyway. And you're going to draw in the right people. So what is the positive impact of sharing your story, Ben?
Oh my goodness. There's so many positives. I think inviting others to feel comfortable in sharing their story with me, like my DMs have lit up, and just other people that have experienced the same, and that we can make that connection. And it's just people that have struggled with mental health. A lot of people are struggling because their family members are struggling, and they want to talk about like how they can help them. And yeah, so it's really caused a lot of connection, and I think it's brought a lot of awareness. Um, and I also think, yeah, like it's really helped fund the initiatives that, yeah, I donate to.
I love that so much, Leanne. And now there's one thing that like I know behind the scenes just from working with you, and you tell me if you're not comfortable talking about this, but I know you've been in and out of hospital, like you've had chronic illnesses and chronic fatigue and all these things that you're dealing with. And it's actually interesting because a lot of my clients have chronic illnesses and stuff like this. And it does make it really hard to have a normal job, but that's where a business can feel so much more supportive because you can, it's a juggling act for sure. It's not easy, but it at least enables you to some days work from bed, some days like, you're just like, I'm checking out, I'm not doing anything today. What's your experience been of building a business while dealing with all of this?
Yeah, I think the chronic illnesses over the last several years, if I wouldn't be able to have a normal job, having all these illnesses, like being in and out of the hospital, having tons of surgeries and appointments, yeah, I wouldn't be able to have a normal job. And there is definitely that flexibility to literally make jewelry from bed and, do behind the scenes aspects when I'm not feeling well or after a surgery that I can, work at laying down and yeah, stuff like that. And yeah, really working from home and has really, really benefited me. And I guess with having surgeries, not being able to go up and down stairs and mobility issues, the fact that I can have everything on one floor is, yeah, very helpful.
Mm. You know what I'd love to know, Leanne, is, we speak to people all the time who do have chronic illnesses or they have a lot of challenges that are going to make it harder for them to build a business. But the story they tell themselves is, I have this, and so it's unreasonable for me to go and build a business. It's unreasonable for me to have these dreams and actually go and try bring them to life. And you have proved that you have basically so many legitimate reasons for why now's not the right time to build a business and why you maybe shouldn't be building one, or like you could come up with a million valid reasons why you shouldn't be doing this. Yet you are, and you're doing so well. You've got a little team going on. You're in so many stores across Canada. You have your online community. And I remember even at the retreat, you were pretty anxious because your page was blowing up.
Mhm.
It was like a good problem to have. So you've gone against all odds and you've built this incredible business. What is your advice to somebody listening to this who's telling them that themselves that story of I have chronic illnesses or I'm dealing with this, so I can't do this.
I think probably the best piece of advice, and I think you might have even given this to me, is give it 2 years. If it's
Mhm.
not making sense in 2 years, maybe reevaluate. But I genuinely gave it 2 years to decide. And by then it had already turned around and was like doing really, really well.
Mhm.
And my biggest thing that I do, I think it's being stubborn and hard-headed, is if somebody tells me I can't, I
Mhm.
have to prove them wrong. Like
Mhm.
it just and proving myself wrong too. But if somebody tells me I'm not going to make that goal, or even if I can't speak openly about my stuff, about my past, to keep more secrets, I have to. I don't know. It's just part of me to prove me wrong, to
I
prove
love
people,
it.
prove myself wrong. I guess. Yeah.
And that is such a key trait in entrepreneurship. It's really having that grit and resilience, and you've got that. And you just keep showing up through the ups and downs. Sometimes it's messier, but you just consistently show up, and it makes such a world of difference. And I'm so glad that you stayed the course because you're so right. So many business owners quit just before it gets good. I actually did a post on Instagram about this yesterday, about how so many people set these timelines for I'm going to try build this business until like 3 months in or 6 months in. And if I'm not seeing results, I'm out. And it's like business doesn't always work that way. You need to give it a bit more time. And you definitely did that. So, talk to us a little bit about like actually building your team because you've had some challenges with that. Of course, there's also been a lot of positives with that. What's your experience been of building your team? Because that is a very vulnerable thing. There is nothing harder, especially for people, I think like you and me, where we know we do everything really well, handing that off to someone else to do and to maybe not, maybe sometimes they do it better, maybe sometimes not as good.
Yeah, that is that is probably one of the hardest parts of having a business and wanting it to get bigger, but then on the other hand, just wanting to keep it little because I am a micromanager and I don't like turning it over and it's hard for me. Um, yeah, but it's I think definitely finding the right ladies to help me grow has really been the key. And I kind of like being the boss. So like I like to teach people how to do things, I guess. I'm like finally letting someone to step in and help me make the jewelry, which I've been solely doing for the last 3 years. So giving that up, and I feel real safe with this person that because I know you know that I've struggled a lot with people copying
Yeah.
my design, so I feel really safe that she's trustworthy. And then my other employees, like my marketing student, she can do way more than I can, and I'm so grateful for, yeah, literally all the employees I've got now. So yeah.
Yeah, you've got an incredible little team, and you even brought one of your team members to Kelowna to the retreat with you, which was so special. And I remember some of the other members being like, some of them came to me and they're like, the fact that there's somebody here who started her business like 2, 3 years ago and is bringing a team member to a retreat like this, it's so inspiring. And they're like, I want to be that person next year. I want to be bringing one of my team with me to the retreat. But yeah, you've done such an incredible job, Leanne, and it is so tough navigating building your team. It's like one of the hardest things. And it very
Mhm.
much aligns with what I always say. Like as you grow your business, you're growing your problems. Because yeah,
Yeah.
everyone wants a team until you realize like, oh, it's a lot of work to find the right team members to cultivate a culture where everyone's thriving. But you have done a really, really good job in doing that. And oh my gosh, Sunny looks so proud. He's so cute. He's
I did him
adorable.
up. He's
Oh my gosh. I love it.
drooling on.
He's drooling on you. Oh my goodness. So, you know, obviously, can you just briefly describe your jewelry a little bit more? Because I'd like some people listening to have some context as to like the materials, what it looks like. I can see you wearing some of your pieces. But can you give us an idea of like the price range and the type of jewelry that you're making and how
Yeah.
involved you are with the process?
So yeah, I make pretty much all gold jewelry. I use gold fill, 14 karat gold fill materials, and I use 18 karat plated gold stainless steel. And my prices would range probably from 25 to 100,
Mhm.
125 is probably the most. So yeah, pretty affordable. And my whole collections are designed around, like hand designed or designed around anchoring and, like your journey and finding your path. Yeah, just really, I guess, mental healthy, feel good items. I incorporate like a lot of like suns and stuff like that just to brighten the mood and elevate. And then I have two mental health necklaces. I just launched the double-sided one. So this is actually, I got some of the tattoo on me this past weekend. It's half a compass with the semicolon in it. So my mental health necklaces incorporate like semicolons and hearts and yeah.
Wow, that's so special. And yeah, for anyone listening, we may release the video version as well, so you can watch the video here and see the jewelry, see the tattoo and all of that. And so what you've done so well over the years, Leanne, is you have really developed a very cohesive collection. So a cohesive collection to me means that if I see somebody wearing one of your pieces on the streets of Kelowna, and then I see your pieces in a store, and then I'm in Toronto and I'm at an event and I see your stuff, I'm immediately like, oh, this is Leanne. Like the different designs, there's some cohesiveness within the collection, and you have done such an amazing job with that. And I know it's not always been like that easy. I know you've had to cut and you've had to let go, which is so difficult. But what's your best piece of advice for somebody listening who knows they need to refine that collection? They need it to be more cohesive, but it's so difficult emotionally to let go of those other pieces.
Mhm. Yeah, when I started working with you, I had like one of every kind of jewelry, like silver to clay to every kind of item. I made it, and it didn't make sense niching down to like just, being gold at the time. But now that I work with those particular materials and, I've not mastered, but I'm become better at working with the materials. I do work with like welding and stuff like that. Um, yeah, I think it's very important to carry that theme throughout the jewelry. So yeah, people can identify me, and I want to keep key elements of it, like the happiness, the anchoring, the compasses to guide you, stuff like that, that really centers in about self and wellness. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I love that so much. So I have a question for you. Be honest. How many times over the past 2 years have you considered quitting?
I couldn't even count the amount of times. Several,
Yeah.
several. Yeah.
Yeah. That is the joys of business, especially the first 2 years. I mean, business is tough. It is one of the most challenging things you can do. And I just wanted for you to share that because I know a lot of people listening, if they're in the earlier stages of business, you think, oh my gosh, I'm wanting to quit. I'm like 6 months in or 1 year in or whatever. And we often put too much weight on every single feeling and thought that we have. And sometimes it's okay to be like, oh, yeah, I'm wanting to quit. That's cool. That's today's feeling. And I'm just going to keep showing up daily until that feeling goes away again. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a difference between somebody being like, you know what, this whole business is not aligned for me. I'm out. That's completely different versus saying, this is my dream and I'm having a hard day or things have just been rough. I'm going through a rough season. What's your advice to someone listening who's like on the fence?
I would say just keep on trying to give it another day. And if, yeah, I don't know, like I even thought about putting the other day again because it's just, there's so many bumps. Like if it's not a good show or if it's, a wholesaler, there's just every other day there is probably going to be another bump. But I keep one thing in mind. I think you might have told me this too. People are not going to die if they don't have jewelry that day.
Mhm.
It's not life or death. And I used to stay up at night, responding to Instagram messages just so I didn't lose one customer or one sale. And I didn't sleep because I was just so stressed out about it. So yeah, I think just kind of giving it that every day if it makes sense still and shutting it down at 5 o'clock. And yeah, just keep going.
Yeah, having that shutdown ritual and giving yourself time for yourself also takes away the resentment that can build when you're building a business. But yeah, that's really good advice, Leanne. And there was something I really wanted to talk about, and it's just like escaped me. But
That's because I don't even know if I answered your question. I'm like, I don't even know if I answered.
no, you did. We are talking about, if somebody's on the fence wanting to quit or not too sure. Oh, yeah. So the reality that a lot of people don't realize about business is just problem solving. That's all you're doing. So as you grow as a business owner, you're basically just solving a lot more different problems. Yeah, there's a few other things you're doing, but basically it's problem solving. So when you reframe it that way and you wake up each morning, and you're assuming there's going to be problems and your job's to solve them. Kind of like when we were kids and we used to play board games. I realized why I have zero interest in board games anymore. It's because my whole life is a board game. It's like real board game on a daily
Yeah.
basis. And so when you reframe it as like, my job is literally to solve problems. You're looking for problems and you see them as a good thing and you see them as lessons and progress rather than like, oh my gosh, there's all these issues happening. And it takes time to reframe that, but like it makes the world of difference, especially when you start seeing business more as a game. It's so funny. I was working on something yesterday for a ridiculous number of hours. I can't share what it is, but I will write a book for you guys one day and spill all the tea because it's like insane. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so like if you knew what it was, you'd be like, wow, that's traumatic. But I was like, this is actually kind of fun. Like, I'm actually enjoying it because to me, it's kind of like one of those like Cluedo games. And it's like it's actually really enjoyable when you reframe it. I could have seen it from another perspective of like, why is this happening to me? Or why am I
Mhm.
having to deal with this? And I didn't. And it does make such a difference. But you're doing an amazing job with this, Leanne. And so, you've obviously been in the academy. Oh, one quick thing. What is your favorite parts of being a jewelry business owner?
My favorite part is making the jewelry.
Making the
And
jewelry.
yeah, going back, if I was to give one piece of advice, if somebody was willing to give up, I would say go to a market and talk to your customers because the connection is like that's what it keeps me not from folding is just knowing that, just going to that market and having a hug or a cry with somebody that's lost someone to suicide or that is struggling with mental health um, is seriously what keeps me going. The fact that I love making jewelry and the fact that it connects me and maybe makes somebody smile, like going on the mental health ward and chatting with the kids, seeing them smile probably for the first time in months is what keeps me.
Oh, that is so beautiful. That's such great advice, Leanne, because you know what I'm hearing is that gives you that conviction in what you're doing. It reminds you of how important the jewelry and the work that you're doing is. And the reality is, we all need as much evidence, like physical evidence of like the work we're doing matters. And it's really hard to get that in the early stages. It takes consistency, it takes showing up, it takes working through things, it takes making mistakes. But you are so, so right. Going to an event where you actually get to see people in person. And this is a part of why I encourage new business owners to do as many as possible if you have the capacity to, because that constant, like physical reminder of, oh, they're loving this. And here's the feedback is it's immediately telling us, like, this is why this matters. And they've actually done studies on this with sales teams in gyms. So sales teams in gyms that just are selling all the time, they have like an X%. I don't remember the numbers. Closing rate, let's say it's like 40%. But sales teams where every morning they hear about a success story of like 5 clients who've actually gone through a workout program and have changed their lives, they have so much conviction that day that when they are selling and when they are talking about the programs, they like significantly increase the closing rate because they have conviction in what they're selling. And it is
Yeah.
so easy for us as jewelry business owners and designers to lose that conviction because we need constant reminders to ourselves and to our teams. When we have a team working for us, they also need to hear all the wins, all the interactions with your customers to have the conviction that the work I'm doing matters. And now I'm like fired up to keep showing up. So that's such beautiful advice, Leanne. And so you've been in the academy since very early on, very early stages. Um, and one of the things I've loved witnessing is your growth into, like, I'm going to say, like, your most authentic self, like the way you show up. I think you having even more fun with your clothes and like all these things. Like, I can just see you've grown into like another level version of yourself. And that to me is one of my favorite things about entrepreneurship. You know, we can talk about the money, we can talk about all the fun things that entrepreneurship gives you, but to me, my favorite part is the version of you you grow into on the journey. So, looking back on your journey of building this business, like, and looking at the personal growth, what would you say is are like the well, I don't know how you want to say this. If you look at if you were to describe yourself before and then describe yourself now, how would you describe that?
I think I feel like my self-confidence has gone up. I did struggle with self-confidence several years ago and stuff like that, but I feel that that has increased because I kind of know now that I've been working with the materials I am, like that I can go out there and, talk about it better and wear my product and feel confident. I feel like I can teach others, like teaching on the ward, and teaching how like art therapy or jewelry making can help express yourself and is really healing for trauma and pain and stuff like that. There's so many things that have changed in the last couple of years. Yeah, and I think just having a purpose is probably a lot of it too. Having a purpose and just kind of serving, I guess, like just serving, I guess, so I can help others that I've been, I guess, like been in the mental health institution or mental health ward and, that struggle. I just, yeah, want to be able to help them.
That's so beautiful. Okay, so let's do a little throwback. I don't know if you can remember back before we started working together, and I know we touched on this earlier, but I'd love to dive a little deeper. So, before we started working together, do you remember what challenges you were facing in your business?
Oh, there were so many. Like I had no idea about making a collection. I had no idea what to charge people. I had no idea about like markets or wholesale line sheets. I didn't even know what that was. Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing really. Yeah.
Okay, and so what made you decide to sign up for the academy?
I decided to sign up because my husband was locked out of work and yeah, I was at home. He was, he was on strike pay, and I knew I had a niche, or not, I knew I was good at something and I wanted to contribute. So, yeah, I hired you and started that and really figured out the whole logistics of it, like how to price an item and how to make a website. Well, you made most of my website
Yeah.
and how to all that, like how to reach out to people and how to sell at markets. Yeah.
Amazing. And do you remember if there's anything that made you almost not sign up? Because I think we had a call and then it was like you did wait a little while and then you did come back. Do you remember why you almost didn't sign up?
I think it was convincing my husband um, to like spend that money on that when there was just no, we didn't have very much income and there was just no return guaranteed. But
Mm.
yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
now he's definitely convinced. He's very happy that I did uh, take the leap, and he's yeah very excited about the business and yeah.
Amazing. And so, what would you
Travel with
say?
me all over.
Yeah, he travels to your events. He's coming to the next retreat, I heard. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to meet him as well. And so, how do you feel now? Like you're a couple of years in. How do you feel? Like, what's your experience been of the Jewelry Business Academy and of working with me?
It's been really good. I love the community, like on the community we have on Facebook and, chatting with one another that we can ask each other questions. And I like being able to share and like not be copied, like not have yeah, that people can understand better. And of course, yeah, your leadership, like we can jump on there and ask a question on a call and implement that right away. And I love the structure because I very much need to look at things and follow like each step. And that's very well laid out in the academy.
Amazing. And so, what wins, big or small, would you say you've celebrated since joining?
Oh, um, well, there's a lot of wins. I guess the biggest would be like the growth in the business. And I grew my team because yeah, I couldn't do it myself anymore. Um, I've grown like across Canada. I'm in several stores across Canada. I just recently I'm in Winnipeg Airport now. What else? I guess the financial gains, the ability to travel, like for work, and yeah, there's a lot of
So
things
many
that
wins. I love
yeah.
it. So obviously, like the timeline, it's a 2 or 3 year timeline. And I remember, I think within the first year, you sent me a message and you said that your sales had quadrupled. It was probably 12 months in. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
So initially they quadrupled, and then I think, are you okay with us sharing some numbers? Totally
sure.
okay.
Yeah, because that would help me more.
Yeah. So I remember, I think in your first or second year, you did a $50,000 year. Was that correct?
Yes, that was, I did 6,000
For
in
your
six
first,
months.
yeah.
Yeah, 6 months. And then I did, I think, 16,000. And then I did 49. And now I'll be above 100 for sure.
Above 100.
Yeah.
Amazing. That
Yeah. So in the
is
last year,
incredible.
it's, yeah, doubled or it's going to be 3 times. I think it's,
3 times.
yeah.
Did you ever think in the first few months that you would be in this position and not really that much, like not after that much time?
No, I didn't. Yeah, because I look at having a degree or, say, working at a job for 15 years and I'm I will be making more than I, I hate to say it, my husband, probably by next year. So,
Mhm.
and I think, he's come to see that, okay, maybe this can be something. And yeah, and that the best thing probably is that we can start looking at places to move to and work away from.
I'm so excited for you. I love that. And yeah, it's so incredible how if you had a job, it's really hard. Like you kind of get capped, but you have a business here that's building momentum that potentially is going to be out earning your husband by next year, like you just shared. And you're going to, it opens up so many opportunities. And so I'm so excited for you guys. And to give everyone a little bit more context, because, everyone likes the data, and I'm trying to think of what people listening to this are going to ask. Do you have a marketing background, a business background, corporate background? Like, what's your background?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I I have a little bit of post-secondary. I was attending to be a social worker.
Mhm.
And so I have some classes in that. But then I started having children and I've been a stay-at-home mom pretty much since. So
Mhm.
yeah, I was in university in um, my last classes were in 2004. So I've been at home since. And then yeah, I guess the learning I've done is like through you. And then I took in a photography class and but that's pretty much it.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, you are doing so, so well, Leanne, and I'm just so excited. We're going to have to bring you back on in a couple of months to share a little bit more of the growth and the journey and the lessons and all of that. But um, I want to quickly touch on the group calls because I don't know, like you'd correct me if I'm wrong, but I think maybe in group settings you may sometimes feel a little anxious. And for anyone who's listening to this who's like, group calls are a no for me. Can you share your experience of being on the group calls and getting coached on there? And like if you found value from group coaching, because a lot of people are hesitant.
Oh, I do get a little bit worked up, but no, I think in asking the questions that everybody can learn from them. And I think we've developed or you have developed a community that we're just all like so tight now. And that, yeah, like the ones that were on the retreat, I think we're even closer and we share we're very comfortable, I think, just messaging each other, um, even not in the group and, reading each other on. And yeah, I think asking the questions in the group, there's just feedback from you and from everyone that can help.
Mm, I love that. Yeah, we have such an incredible crew. And yeah, I
Mhm.
agree. At the retreat, especially like our last dinner together on like the Sunday night, we're having pizzas. Nobody wanted to leave. It was just like, it's such a tight little family, it feels like. And it was actually so wonderful having everyone in person. I wish we could do everything in person, but it was very special. And so I know this is going to be a hard question, Leanne, but what would you say is like one of the biggest lessons you've learned since joining the JPA?
I think it would probably be yeah, just keep on trying and implementing the strategies. And yeah, just keep on not grinding, but just not giving up.
Mm.
Yeah, because yeah, there was definitely a lot of times when I was just ready to give up, but I just kept going.
Yeah, I love that. I think I've done a podcast on that specific lesson because a jewelry business is so wonderful in that it's the one business. There's a lot of businesses out there that you can fail at, but it's the one business you actually only fail if you quit. And so it's just about just continue showing up, don't give up, and just keep moving forward because it's crazy how those little steps over years accumulate and build momentum.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, that's incredible. And so, what would you say to somebody listening to this who's in the same place you were before you came into the program, or even how you were a few months in and they are a little anxious about investing in themselves in the business, but they are curious to know if you'd recommend the JBA?
Yeah, I totally would. I've sent, I think, a few people your way. Because yeah, it's definitely paid itself off several times over, and and that it's continuously learning. I'm continuously like the other day I went back to Instagram posts from like captions from that what I've learned from you from like a year ago, and drew on those, brought those out. So it's like a capsule of information you can go back to, and it just keeps growing. So yeah, I would totally do it all over again.
Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing this, Leanne. And this has been so fun having you on the podcast. I really have been like looking forward to this as I shared. Do you want to like share? I don't know if you want to share this, but I think it's just interesting for people because you come across as so confident and it has taken a while to get you on the podcast. Do you want to share why?
I think, well, one of the biggest setbacks is because I live on a farm, I have
Mm,
very bad internet. So I'm actually in a hotel room.
yeah.
So I have internet to do this. But there's a lot of issues within my like immediate family and my own health and stuff like that that just kept putting it off. And yeah, I do struggle with like self-esteem and really worried what people say about me, especially being in a small community. Because it's a lot of talk, and I was, just kind of reluctant to share out loud, I guess. But, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, small communities are tough, and being on podcasts, I mean, it's very vulnerable, and even showing up on social media, even just building a business. So you are
Hmm.
doing amazing, and thank you for sharing that because I think it's just wonderful for somebody in the same sort of shoes to hear that. I mean, I was in the same shoes years ago. People don't know this, but many years ago, I couldn't even record a 1 minute video talking. Like I couldn't do it. Like it was just a no-go. So you're doing amazing, Leanne, and this has been so much fun. Is there anything we haven't touched on that you wanted to share? Just want to check before we wrap things up.
I think that's about it.
That's about
Yeah.
it. Amazing. Well, I know we are going to have so many listeners feeling so inspired by your journey and wanting to follow along and connect with you. So where can our listeners find you and how can they support you?
The best place to find me is on Instagram, and my handle is Isla_Ray_jewelry. And I'm a little bit in Facebook, and yeah, I have a website online, and that's, yeah, mostly just showing up
Amazing.
on Instagram right now.
Amazing. We will link all of those in the show notes so everyone listening can go and follow along and connect with Leanne and let her and let me know your favorite takeaways from this episode. But Leanne, thank you so much for coming on here, for sharing your stories so openly and vulnerably. I really appreciate it. And thanks for bringing Sunny on. He was so chill the whole way through.
Yeah, he's sleeping now over there. So
He had enough. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Leanne. This has been wonderful.
thanks, Robin.